Did you know there are people like you and me who desire to be free, to be their authentic selves? And yet, in the midst of all the societal and cultural and ethnic norms and expectations, these people feel trapped, isolated, emotionally and sexually confined. Well, today's featured expert has also lived in this oppressive state and decided to devote his life to being a part of the solution. Through integrity, sincerity, and respect of individuality and confidentiality, allowing us all to explore the depths of our innermost truth, our authentic self. Welcome to the Erotic Love Summit 2016. I'm Dr. Andrea Pennington, host of Sensual Vitality TV and author of The Orgasm Prescription for Women. Today's guest, Todd Malloy, is the clinical director of the Inner Peace Counseling Center, a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified sex therapist, and sexuality educator. Todd is an authority on relationships and sexuality. He's been providing counseling and therapy for over 20 years, and 5 years ago, he founded the Inner Peace Counseling Center, located in Charlotte, North Carolina, to create a safe space where emotional, sexual, and personal healing could occur. Todd believes that sexuality, intimacy, and eroticism begin with self-exploration, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Todd says that sexuality, intimacy, and eroticism are not stagnant or static, but they change as life changes. So, we must be continually open to explore, expand, and grow. Welcome to the Erotic Love Summit, Todd Malloy.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm very excited.
It is always good to connect with you, Todd, because like me, I know you're a little on the nerdy side, and I know you like to go deep with really helping your clients understand themselves and their dynamics in their relationship. And I think what would be really great is if we could sort of kick things off with just a definition. Like, how do you define eroticism?
For me, eroticism is an energy, a desire, a yearning that is stimulated by the sexual, sensual interest of the individual, upon which it creates a longing, a desire to express, and upon expressing it, allows you to be free mentally, physically, spiritually, and allows you to connect to a spirit, a force, and energy far bigger than the physical self.
Wow. Well, okay, so yeah, again, that takes it deep. So you're saying this eroticism it's an energy, it's beyond a sexual impulse. It's
correct. It's an urge. It's a wantingness. It's a release. True eroticism for me is freeing. When we look at our culture, when you spoke earlier about cultural norms and expectations, societal norms, most of our lives we're contained in a box. When you're a child, you're supposed to be seen and not heard. When you get older, you're supposed to if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Then you get older, you become politically correct. When are you actually released, told it's okay to just be free and embrace your full self, your sexual self, your emotional self, your spiritual self, and then how to articulate that to your partner so that a coming together, a union, can be explosive. So too oftentimes we're fighting through so many boxes to find ourselves. Through eroticism, through sensuality, gives us that opportunity to explore, to expand, and to create.
So you mentioned that, you felt like you were also confined in a box, and you found your own freedom in all of those different domains, and that's why you have made this your mission to help others. How did that confinement manifest for you personally?
Well, think about this. Number one, being African American, people have their own sets of stereotypes. Then you think of your religious background, whichever that is, but each of those come with tenets and rules and what's right and what's wrong. And And, and people often forget spiritual people are usually birthed from other spiritual people.
Yeah.
However, those are the taboo subjects that they call them your private parts, but they're not supposed to be private to you.
Right.
You know, they shouldn't be private to you. So you should be able to explore and to understand feeling and connect. Oftentimes, because we're programmed, you go to college, you get married, or whatever the rhythm is, but you're following a pattern. You're following someone else's box. But then, as you get older and you begin to mature, you begin to say, "Is this really who I am?" I became an engineer. I was an engineer for 30 years before becoming a therapist. I became an engineer because it seemed to be the appropriate thing to do. It would generate the right amount of revenue. After you graduate from college, you get married and you begin to have kids. Then you start to look and say, okay, is this really who I am? If I design one more bell, one more whistle, does it really matter? Does it really impact lives? So through that process, through my own questioning, through my own interpersonal searches, intrapersonal searches, gave me the opportunity to begin this journey. And as I'm on this journey, still considering myself to be a student in this journey, I hope to lead and inspire others to be free and walk in their true, authentic selves. Again, to empower people to live a life worth celebrating.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love the idea of getting outside of the box. You know, it reminds me of that song, "Little boxes on the hillside, little." I mean, I was the same way, Todd, and you already know this about me. You know, I really felt hemmed in by these boxes and these familial norms and societal norms. And like you know, for me, it has been this process of self-inquiry, of really going deep within to say, you know, does this stuff really apply to me? It doesn't matter if the rest of the world thinks that way. If I'm the one that has to wake up in this skin every morning, if I don't feel good, then why am I bothering to try to please all these other people?
Exactly. Exactly. It's I said this to a client the other day. You're with you more than you're with everybody or anyone else. So if you can't be happy within yourself, if you can't feel free, if you can't experience joy within yourself, does it really matter?
Yeah. And ain't that the truth?
Of others really doesn't matter when it comes to your individual self. And I truly believe by living your truth, you project your greatest energy to have the most positive effect on the environment around you. And then whenever there is a discord, it will actually create its own transformation such that who is supposed to be in your life will, and who's not won't be.
That's deep, but it's so true. So it's about bringing that authentic energy and letting it correct, you know, course correct your life. So I know that one of your beliefs and the way you practice is about helping people become free. And if we've already been so in our heads worried about what everybody thinks of us and trying to conform, how does one become a great lover and really truly free and pleasing our partner, you know, and walking that fine line between wanting to please them and also being our free sexual self?
It begins with self-awareness. You know, what I always share with clients, everybody owns their own orgasm. It is not my responsibility to give my partner an orgasm. It's not their responsibility to give me mine. It's for us to be able to come together with a self-awareness and teach our partners about pleasuring each other. Such that if I have not, because again, taboos, have not masturbated, self-pleasured, however you want to define that, have really explored myself from the top of my head to the sole of my feet to understand where I'm most sensitive, where I enjoy the touch, the type of touch, the pressure, the speed upon which that I'm touched. If I really haven't explored that for myself, I'm really asking my partner to be blindfolded, spin around 3 times and hit a bullseye in the dark.
Yeah.
So in this coming together, it's about understanding yourself, a true sense of awareness, and then exploring the journey with your partner. where they've equally done the same. I always share, I recognize we all have pieces and parts. However, and they work fairly well when they come together. However, even with all of that, if you're willing to just explore, sit back for a while and communicate, to share fantasy, sit across the table, fine dining, set up a picnic out in the backyard, whatever the case may be. But just begin to introduce yourselves to one another. And it's not a one-time introduction, because we've already shared that we expand and we grow throughout the lifespan. So it's consistently communicating, sharing likes, differences, passions, fantasies, and exploring all of those things so that when we come together, it's a beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm. So it really does involve somewhat being vulnerable, being willing to just sit down and have these conversations beyond just being in the bedroom with touching each other and telling each other what you like, but to go into fantasies. Well, talk to me about, you're talking about these new normals that, our sexuality changes and evolves over the lifespan. What do you mean by that?
Well, we think about this is that first we're children, we have pieces of parts, really don't know what they are. We got raging hormones and they're all over the place. It's like energy unfocused. We begin to explore, hormonally, we're hot, everything's theoretically right where it's supposed to be. Now, all of a sudden, you become, let's say 30 years old, life begins to change. I'm beginning to focus on, professionally, I've made some decisions and choices. I have a path. I have a mortgage now I didn't have. Psychologically, things are going on. Physiologically, things are going on. Body image concerns, all of those things that now all of a sudden come into play, which seemed to be something that was normal and natural, and I didn't have to think about it. Now, all of a sudden, I'm too tired. Now, all of a sudden, some men get to that point in life and experience premature ejaculation when they've never experienced it before. Women are put in a position of being more of a societal norms, more of a pleasurer or to pleasure their partner, but really not into having the experience for themselves. But then even as we progress through life, you have men losing testosterone, you have heart disease, you have illnesses and physical conditioning coming into play. Then you have women who become menopausal and have vaginal atrophy, things of those nature. But through the lifespan and research I read recently, there are 85-year-old individuals still having wonderful sex.
Yep. And
it's about understanding where you are and enjoying the spirit experiences that you can have at that juncture. Going through norms such that when I'm 18, I'm 19, 20, 25, we're just exploring and doing a lot of things. Sometimes uneducated, but we're doing what we know and having fun at it. However, but now all of a sudden feelings and emotions come into play. I know people pick on men because they say men don't have the emotions and feelings. But I have a client, 30-year-old man, he says, I don't want the one-night thrills. I'm looking for connection. Now, and research also showed that premature ejaculation happens more likely in uncommitted, unemotionally connected relationships because it reduces it just to performing.
Mm-hmm.
And then sense. Everybody, a man's supposed to be hung to his ankles. His girth is supposed to be the size of a baby. But if you're not, you have all of these body images, you have all these concerns. You can't have, even though research shows that on average, sex from beginning to end is about 40 minutes. Penetrative sex is really only about 10 minutes. On a Viagra commercial, it's supposed to be 4 hours.
Right.
So if you're not all of those things, you focus more on performance and not on the experience. You cheat yourself of the relationship. So throughout the lifespan, you have to kind of understand what's going on with you, how life is impacting you, and begin to feel, to what your point earlier, in true eroticism and intimacy is about establishing relationships where you feel safe, where you can be transparent and you can be vulnerable. But throughout that process, I have to be willing to accept myself where I am at that moment and begin to explore from that perspective, as opposed, the grief and loss about things that we could have done. I could lift 400 pounds when I was in college. I don't want to lift 400 pounds now, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. So it's about making those adjustments. It's about freeing yourself. It says, it's okay. I can have sex. Women vaginally change once they have children. I had a client say, before I had a baby, I could crush a grape with my vagina. She said, but after having a baby, I can't pick up a pea with my vagina. So now it's about, nothing feels the same. Sex doesn't feel the same. My orgasm doesn't feel the same. This is where sexual education comes in. Now that you're aware of it, because again, this is not conversation that we typically have with one another.
Yeah.
But it's about understanding that, seeking the information, being able to share these types of concerns, and then allowing the sexual education and sexual information come in about pelvic floor therapists that come, Kegel exercises, things of that nature, to kind of restore that area so that you can continue on and have a pleasurable experience.
Well, we have a wonderful interview with this woman, Tamra Mursakar, in Australia, who does yoga for the vagina to help women, whether they have had a baby or a hysterectomy or vaginal atrophy, or they just want to tone up. So be sure to check out that interview. So Todd, I want to take one thing back here. So you're talking about intimacy as being this state wherein we can feel vulnerable, open, and transparent. So given all of those concerns that you just talked about, body image as we age and the stress and pressure of life, how do you encourage couples to build that sort of intimacy?
Well, I encourage them by having the conversation about what are your fears, what are your concerns. And what I share with them is not to come from here. We're programmed to process our internal experience and then process it through our brain. And then in turn, we give you an output. People only respond to the output, not understanding the underpinning.
Mm-hmm.
So what I challenge them to do is bypass the brain, go from the heart, go from your emotional self and let it out. As you're processing information, as you're having an experience, that as you're being touched and you don't feel secure, you don't feel safe, I don't feel truly valued, that I don't feel clean. It's to be able, as opposed to allowing your partner to feel rejected, you actually share that experience. Because in a healthy relationship, no partner wants their partner, their alternate partner, to feel not clean, not safe, not secure, not wanted, not valued. So when you speak in a primary language, an emotional language, the partner, as opposed to becoming defensive, you make your partner now a helper. So now they're saying, oh, how can I help you get to the state that I want you to be in as a part of this relationship? So now when your partner shows up in a very vulnerable space, how intimate is that?
Mm.
Yeah, that makes it deep when it's, if people were able to do that more often, then I think that would take their experiences to a whole nother level. Because then it gets back to that again, being free enough and feeling safe enough to be my vulnerable self.
And it's a process. So even though I explain to my clients, you make it sound so easy. Yeah, it does sound easier than it is, because you have to break through the structure that we've created for ourselves. But again, it's slowing the process down. We're taught to think very quickly. People, oh, I love when my partner finishes a sentence. No, that's not cute. Actually, the other person doesn't feel as though you're giving them the time. You don't value their thought, that they feel that they're unheard. But it's about slowing the process down to connect with what's going on with you, and then speaking your truth. You're only responsible for how you say what you say, not how people receive you.
Mm.
See,
Okay.
I'm going to share with you my truth. My truth by nature is not designed to hurt you or offend you. My truth is my truth, and I share my truth with you, that we can level set and walk in a fuller sense of truth and be led to where we're supposed to be going.
I like that. And it makes me think of someone who said, she said, yeah, but, and you know, anyone who starts a sentence with yeah, but, they in trouble. But she said, yeah, but if I say this stuff to my partner, he's going to think I'm nasty or I'm kinky. So how do you define, you know, the difference between erotic and kinky or nasty? I mean, it seems like it would be a cultural difference, because if someone grew up thinking that oral sex was just nasty, then I could see them having that kind of mental clash. But how do you define them?
It can create a mental class. However, personally, how I define eroticism is really an umbrella term for sensuality and a sensual experience. However, when I think of kink, nasty, things of that nature, they're just pathways to that sexual exploration, that out of body experience.
Okay.
Because in the context, I have some clients that the partner prefers nasty. Let's do something nasty. Let's do something freaky. Let's kink. When you think of bondage, you think of submission, varying types, constricting body parts, things of that nature. But it's all about what the goal is. What is the objective? It's not to devalue. It's not to defame. But it is about an experience and a full acceptance of self. The question is, even if my partner doesn't like fellatio, going down head, whatever the case may be, the question is, do you want to be with someone that accepts all of you or just pieces and parts of you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know that my full expressive self is accepted? Cellulite, bullet wounds, whatever the case may be, that you accept all of who I am and the expression of who I am. And in so, and knowing that you're in that type of relationship, what does that offer you personally? And then by you being in your right space, what do you offer your partner?
Being in that right space. So being in the right space is a mental thing. So what I encourage, my clients to do is mindfulness exercises, and practicing meditation can help you question those little thoughts that come up, and that little critic in the head that says you're not doing it right, or what if he thinks this. But how do you recommend that people turn off the brain during sex?
Turning off the brain, again, to your point, and I'll say it probably slightly different, but learning how to be present, how to become aware. And working with couples specifically, what we do is at times is we create body maps that begin to explore individually. Everyone is exploring their body and identifying where they enjoy to be touched, how they want to be touched, like a combination lock. Here, I like a forehead kiss first. I like the kiss on the cheek second. And I like being tickled on the bottom of my feet, whatever that sequence is. Then what we do is we really do basic stuff where we have them sit close together. And they actually just begin to put their hands on each other's stomach, crisscross, touching each other's stomach, and follow each other's breathing pattern. Just relax. Connect to the breathing. Nothing else exists but this moment. Feel it. Feel and experience the connectiveness and the unity. And then what I do at the end of that moment, I ask, what was that like? Just to slow the world down and stop it. Because initially what you have to do is that they identify that you can silence the world, become present. What does it feel like? So you get buy-in, so that they'll actually pursue it. Then in the process, we do what is known as sensate focus. Once we have the body mapping, now what we will do, whether clothes on, clothes off, create an environment where it's non-penetrative sex, but now what we do is collectively massage, touch, caress the whole body based on the body map that you have. And we identify where the skin is thin, is more sensitive, more nerve ending, where the skin is thick. So in the session, we will work on pressure, touch, speed to identify, hey, on thin areas, I want to be touched like this. On thicker areas, I want to be touched like this. Then I ask them to go home, have a relaxing evening, take a shower, change all the sheets on the bed, dim the lights, turn on some music, have wine, whatever their beverage is, and take 20 to 30 minutes each partner on exploring their full body to the touch. and teaching them how to communicate through that process. Teaching them communicate through that process is coming up with safety words. Kevin Hart has pineapple. But whatever their safety words are, words that aren't, oh God, stop, no, not those words, but words that wouldn't be typical in intimate settings like ginger or apricot or whatever it happens to be. But through that methodology and their mental buy-in and through application, they're able to relax. They're able to be naked and unashamed. And the moment you become naked and unashamed, you become captivated in the experience.
Mm-hmm. And isn't that what we all want? To be captivated, caught up in that orgasmic bliss that I talk about. So you talk a lot about intimacy, and one of the things I've heard you say is this a term of pseudo intimacy. Can you explain that to me?
So intimacy is obviously, it looks nice, but it doesn't feel the same. Pseudo intimacy is when you're in a relationship and you're in a relationship with a person that there's limited reciprocity, where there's selfishness, where there's individual goals that are pursued as opposed to collective joint goals that are pursued. When we become self-centered, one or the other partner becomes self-centered. So it gives all the tapestry, but I bought you flowers, but I only want to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to do something nice for you, but I expect you to do this for me, as opposed to just a free flow. I just wanted you to have this. Now, if it leads somewhere, great. If it doesn't, it's just important for me to demonstrate to you what you mean and how I value you. Anytime you're outside of that realm, that's a pseudo intimacy.
Got it. So it's about that reciprocity and really giving out of a heart of generosity.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So what do you do with couples where there is what, we technically call desire discrepancy? Someone wants it more than the other. And it's not always the man, I write about that in my book that, I had this woman in a focus group and she was like, my first marriage ended because he made me feel like there was something wrong with me. She said, I wanted more sex than he did. And he made it seem like she was, a freak.
No, I hear that quite often. So any myths that I had before doing this for a living have been dispelled. A lot of them. I have fun. I enjoy what I do. When there's a discrepancy, personally, I like to define sexuality or intimacy more so about connection. It's not about it's not about penetration it's not limited to penetration for me. So I always share that. I said, well, what is it that you really want? Do you just want the penetration or are you looking to feel connected? Because even in penetration and connecting, you're still connected. Is that sense of oneness. So now, as opposed to, we're going to define now really what intimacy is. So opposed to the typical, okay, hey, I give you a look, you give me a look, that's our signal. Then where there's touching, there's fondling, there's undressing, like a stair-step approach. There's fondling, kissing, oral play, anal play, whatever, orgasm, we go to sleep. The problem is that anytime you've walked up a step and you've missed one, it becomes a very uncomfortable situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you walked up the stairs, missed a step, and said, oh, Hades. But in the process, we often do that in intimacy. So you miss one step, you miss one cue, it just ruins the whole experience. So what we do is I draw actually an oval, and I put a big I in the middle of it for intimacy. And what we do is, what do you define intimacy? What would define a sense of connection for you? Hand holding, kissing, long walks, staring in each other's eyes, penetrative sex, and whatever the full gamut is. Such that as they're coming together, it's not about, oh, he just wants to have sex or she just wants to have sex. My partner wants to feel connected with me, but because we've defined the full gamut of intimacy for that particular couple, they can say, hey, I'm really not in for this, but I am open for that.
Mm.
No one ever feels rejected, because ultimately the reason that you're coming together is because I do want to be connected to you. However, where I'm at mentally, physically, spiritually, or whatever the case may be, I'm not open. I could, if when a woman has had, for whatever reasons, she rode a bike, she went to exercise class, and she's experiencing some type of vaginal pain, the last thing she wants to be is penetrated. So, but there are other things that we can do. So what are those other things to create that sense of connection? Hey, sometimes it's just spooning, sometimes it's cuddling, sometimes it's watching TV. But I do want to be connected to you. Can we negotiate how we're going to connect?
So when you create that oval with the I in the middle. So each partner is writing down what they consider, important for that intimate connection.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. But it's like a wheel, and the I is the center of the wheel. Mm-hmm. Then you have spokes, and each of those spokes is one or the other's partner definition of intimacy, mm-hmm. or a factor that's involved in intimacy, creating that sense of closeness. So in that, no one feels rejected.
Yeah.
The issue, like, for example, hearing what you shared about your client, that my husband thought I was a freak, basically I feel rejected.
Yeah.
No one likes to feel rejected. But if he were to say, hey, I don't reject you, I'm just not open for this, can we do that tomorrow, but I'm open for this today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all does come back to this type of communication, and I think it would solve a lot of problems if people, I mean, it's almost like being able to, without it getting cookie cutter or like a recipe, at least these are the things that are really, really important to my partner, because for me, it's conversation. That's the way I like to feel connected, is first, let me, tell you all the things, well, maybe not all, but all the things in my mind and my heart about the day or what have you, so that I feel heard and seen. Show me that you care. And then we can get to all the other stuff. But if you jump right into it, it's like, excuse me, I'm a person with thoughts and feelings and emotions over here besides my body.
Exactly. It's really about forcing a situation or allowing a situation to manifest. Yeah. And I'm more into allowing things to manifest as opposed to forcing.
Yeah. And don't we all want that? We all want to be in a state of flow where we can react when things come up, but we can be in a state of flow rather than being forced. I love that.
Exactly.
So what exactly are the Kleinplatz lessons?
Really, the Kleinplatz lessons are understanding that eroticism comes from within. That with eroticism comes an awareness of sexual education, an awareness of cultural sexuality, because depending on a person's cultural background, they vary. But it's again, it's an overall awareness and a true education, having scientifically accurate information. One of the things I enjoy doing is educating my clients. We have body pieces and parts, but we really don't understand nerve endings and the scientific sexual information. Because by understanding, if I know that certain parts of a woman's body or my partner's body, whoever my partner is, are more sensitive than others, creates a positive sensation. I know that academically. Now I can add that to the repertoire. It gives me an opportunity to explore and to do whatever it is, and to allow my partner to experience something, but also show a vulnerability on my part. And even if it doesn't turn out right, we can have fun and have something to laugh at. I have clients. I had a client, a gentleman specifically, who always was never the initiator in sex because he didn't understand where everything was. He couldn't do missionary or whatever because he just couldn't find X marks the spot, whatever spot he was looking for.
Okay.
So his partner always had to be in the female dominant position where she took control. So in turn, when he came here, I just kind of educated him on where all the pieces and parts are. We have visual aids, things of that nature, et cetera, and giving him tools. But now what that did was fostered him being a little more confident, that now he can be more assertive, of course, because his partner was like, I'm tired of being the initiator. Mm-hmm. But also as we pictorially showed him where all the pieces and parts are, they had a homework assignment where he would go home and she would explain to him her pieces and parts.
Okay.
And this is how, but through him creating a sense of education, a sense of awareness, a sense of comfort through this process, now opened the door where he was open to be taught, because in this particular case, he's supposed to be the man. So, you're supposed to teach, not be taught. However, those things were dispelled for that relationship, and they were to do some good things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we all need to bring that sort of openness and willing to be a student. Because even if we think we know what we think we know, our partner may be at a different stage in their life, or if it's a new relationship, this is a new human being with new interests and passions and past sensitivities and whatnot.
Exactly.
Well, that brings up the poem that you shared with me recently by R.D. Lang. Would you like to read that?
Yes, I would. I enjoy this poem. I share it with my clients quite often. And each time I have offered it and shared it, and if I can find it, I had it typed out so wonderful. Once I've shared it, they always sit back in a sense of awe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it starts them to thinking. Because if you look at our society, we always talk about, we all speak through masks and smoking mirrors, things of that nature. But that's what's causing the problem.
Yeah.
I think Adam and Eve's issue was the covering. Had they left themselves naked, you know what we'd experience. So the poem is, it's an R.D. Lang poem, Knots. And the poem reads, "There is something I don't know that I am supposed to know. I don't know what it is I don't know, and yet am supposed to know. And I feel I look stupid if I seem both not to know and not to know what it is I don't know. Therefore, I pretend I know it. This is nerve-wracking. Since I don't know what I am pretending to know, therefore I pretend to know everything. I feel you know what I am supposed to know, but you can't tell me what it is because you don't know that I don't know what it is. You may know what I don't know, but not that I don't know it. And I can't tell you, so you will have to tell me everything."
Mm.
To your point, I want to be able to share with my partner what my day was like. I want to be able to share what my frailty, what my vulnerability is. I want to feel safe. I want to feel secure. I want to be transparent with you so that you can give me everything you have to give me so I can give you everything that I have to give. I will be able to address misinformation. I will be able to explore and share joys and happiness by just sharing everything.
Wow. That's sort of relationship nirvana, at least for some of us.
Yes.
For those of us that want that complete, transparent intimacy and freedom. Well, Todd, this has been a really great conversation, and I so appreciate you bringing your knowledge and your wisdom to the Erotic Love Summit.
Oh, anytime. Again, I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you so much for thinking of me.
So we can find out more about Todd in his Inner Peace Counseling Center in Charlotte. And the website is innerpeacecounselingcenter.com.
Yes.
Awesome. And you can also click on over to Facebook and like his page there. And I just want to say once again, Todd, it's a pleasure to connect with you once again across the miles and over these last years. Congratulations on your success. It's wonderful to see you doing what you're doing and really helping people to own their authentic self and then to share it. So thank you.
Thank you again for the opportunity, and congratulations to you on all of the things that you're doing and new focus and center that you have. So congratulations.
Yes, I'm focused on helping people live orgasmically with sensual vitality. And a big part of that is bringing these types of conversations and these interviews to the world, because I might hang around with a bunch of nerds that are, doing cool stuff, but the rest of the world may not know about you. So I hope that you have enjoyed today's interview, and if you'd like to come back and listen to it again and again, then I would invite you to upgrade to our Lifetime Easy Access bundle, where you can download the audios, the videos, the transcripts, and many of our featured experts have agreed to do bonus question and answer periods so that they can respond to the questions from you that may have come up during the summit. But that's only available to people in our lifetime entourage. So the links are below. You can check that out if you'd like. So once again, I say thank you to Todd Malloy of the Inner Peace Counseling Center in Charlotte. And until next time, live orgasmically with sensual vitality. Bye.